It's big on it.
Summit and Destiny have met 7 times before. Tonight is number 8.
And the Tennessee Volunteers are the SEC Tournament champions. It's been a long time coming. The last time Tennessee won this tournament was in 1979, but they've got another trophy to put in the trophy case at Thompson Bowling Arena.
The 2023 SEC champions, the Tennessee Volunteers.
Hit high in the air into left field. Stevenson circling in front of the fence into foul ground. He goes into the corner, makes the catch, and that's the ball game.
And the Volunteers will hold the trophy.
How much fun is this, man? God, I love it. High fly, deep right, and Tennessee walks it off.
The 2-2 to Denton.
Well hit deep left field. It is good.
For the win for the Volunteers. From 40. On the way, a knuckleball. He got it.
How much fun is this?
Man, Rocky Top. This is college football at its absolute best.
Welcome into the Vol Fanatic Show, dude. I promise you that highlight reel is never going to get old, my man. My name's Skylar and Michael. How we doing?
We're doing pretty good, man, and you're 100% right. It'll never get old. Might have to eventually change the song, unfortunately. We're still working out the copyright stuff on that. Don't know if it's going to get copyright striked or not at some point, but, you know, we'll do what we got to do. But the highlights itself will never get old.
Well, right now we're not making any money on it, so we're good.
Yeah.
But, no, man, we got a big show today. Obviously, it's later into February. We got a lot of sports going on. March is probably the busiest month as far as overlap between baseball and basketball and football with spring coming up. But today we got a big one. We're going to talk about the Lady Vols basketball team, and then swap over to the men's. And, you know, same thing with segment 2 is going to be all about baseball, softball. And then segment 3 is going to be about the big win that Tennessee had over the NCAA. But what does that really mean? And is that really a good thing? But we'll get into that. Michael, before we do you have a shout out of the week?
I do have a shout out of the week. I'm going to shout out my my in-laws as I am actually streaming from my father-in-law's den right now. He said, unfortunately, I don't have my Vol stuff on the wall behind you yet. He said that is coming, but I do appreciate them letting me do the podcast from their house today. Who is your shout out, Skylar?
Dude, that's shout out to the in-laws. Massive get. Got a little studio right there. Hey, it works, brother. But
sure does.
I'm going to shout out a friend of mine who I've not known him that long, but man, he has been just a great friend. His name is Gary Watlington, with his security and technologies. They're proud supporters of the Tennessee Vols. But he's been a guy that I met through work and just been a great friend. I mean, he shared a post the other day of all of us at the tailgate for a football game and gave me a shout out. And that's just the guy he is, man. It just random shout outs. Any time of the year, you could expect that from him. So if he's watching this at some point during this week, I hope that he hears that I'm trying to return the favor any way I can. So Gary Watlington, thank you for all you do, and thank you for supporting us. So, but before we get into the show, I do have to announce we are sponsored and brought to you by Chris Smith Insurance. So, do you know your agent? Because if you don't, you need to call somebody that you can know, like, and trust. And Chris Smith is your guy for that. As a homeowner, Chris Smith was once let down by an insurance company. So he started one of his own, where instead of feeling like a big company is fighting against you, you'll know that your agent is fighting for you. All insurance is not equal. Trust Chris Smith Insurance. Call 865-272-3387. Chris Smith will definitely get you in the right direction. Thank you, Chris Smith, for making this possible. Now, Michael, let's get to what the people want to talk about. It's been a whole lot of winning this week, if you could keep up with it. But
it has been. It's been a lot of winning. I believe only one loss this past week out of all the programs. we're not counting the Lady Vols today, as we will actually review or recap that one
Mostly
next
because
week.
we're losing. Mostly because we're losing. We want to keep this about a winning show.
Well, that, but also, it was going to be hard for us to just turn around real quick and talk about this.
Yeah.
Well, we will start off with last Sunday. The Lady Vols defeat Vanderbilt in Nashville 86-61. So this is something I've been playing with this week, everybody that is tuning in, some overlays for the stream here. So what I'll have in the bottom left-hand corner here is your leading players, and this is going to be for each sport. Then, of course, I've got the percentages down here. Kind of help us out a little bit, too. We're still going to be going back and forth to box scores, giving you some that's not on here, but this helps us out some, too. As you can see, Rakia Jackson and Jewel Spear, and sorry, these stats are actually not correct. I did some copying and pasting. So Rakia Jackson and Jewel Spear were the two leading scorers in the game. Rakia
Skylar, had 20. I was going to say Rakia had 24 points, and it looks like she had 7 rebounds in that game. And Jewel Spear it's still your two leading scorers. Jewel Spear had 16 points and 4 rebounds, I believe. But just a big game by those two right there. And to be honest with you, the whole team kind of chipped in as well, as you had 9 points off the bench by Tess Darby, and you also had 16 from Jasmine Powell. So, I mean, really good point. Almost had 4 players there in double digits. Really good win, very good bounce back. Always good to beat Vanderbilt. I believe a sweep by both the men's and ladies against Vanderbilt this year.
It was, and when you add in football, it's a sweep there as well. So just got to do it in baseball this year as well.
Always a tough task. Vanderbilt. Yeah, that's right. You got to let them know who owns the state, dude. I mean, it's as if taking over the arena earlier in the year wasn't enough to show them that. I think we just got to pour it on them. When they're down, we just got to keep kicking.
Yep, absolutely. But Vanderbilt did have some good showings in the game. You had Ayanna Moore with 25 points in the game. She led all scorers. So she had a fantastic game in that one. You also had you had Jordan Cambridge chipped in 14 in the game. And then you had Washington, is it Saka, something like that?
I think it's Sacha.
Yeah, Sacha Washington. She had 13 in the game. And other than that, you had 1 player with 3 points and 3 players with 2 points. So, I mean, those 3 right there combined for 52 of their 61 points in the game.
No, absolutely. Big bounce back win for the Lady Vols after they took that crushing loss to South Carolina because they played 3 quarters so well, kind of fell apart in the 4th quarter. How would that affect them mentally going into Vanderbilt, a team which you kind of had a feeling you should go in there and beat, but doing it's a whole nother story. But I think the Lady Vols bounced back in a big way. They got a big win. And it was fun to watch. I mean, just truthfully, posting up 80-something, that's great offense, great offensive efficiency, and then holding your opponent to right at 60 points. Defense was okay. Obviously, there could be some improvements, but at the end of the day, you got a big win. There was really no stress involved in that game. It was kind of a no-doubter pretty much that whole way through. And then you had some good potential, I guess, out of the team as far as working together to hopefully get them ready for LSU as they are playing right now, and they are unfortunately losing. But we'll get to that next week. So
yeah, and I apologize again for that graphic. I believe that was the first one that I made, or it might have been the second one. I was doing some copying and pasting, figuring it out, and I did not go back and change that one. But Lady Vols do have another big game this week as they will take on the Texas A&M Aggies on a Thursday night. This is a revenge game, just like the men's game was last night, as Texas A&M knocked off the Lady Vols in College Station earlier this year. A game that the Lady Vols really didn't need to lose, and this is a must-win, in my opinion, for the Lady Vols. Skylar, what about you?
Yeah, especially with them, let's just go ahead and count it as a loss to LSU right now. You got A&M and South Carolina coming up. You got to beat A&M. Yeah, you got to beat A&M. Don't end the season losing 4 of your last 5 games. That would be kind of crushing, and it would leave a very nasty taste in every fan's mouth. So let's get a big one over A&M, and then just fight hard again against South Carolina. I mean, that's all you can really ask for. If you get a win, great, but by all means, by not asking you to beat the only undefeated Division I team left there is in basketball, period, right? Men's or women's. So I just think getting the win over A&M, I agree with you wholeheartedly. That is a must-win game. And I don't think, major consequences will come if we lose it. It just really at that point very much depends on tournament play.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I have not looked at the women's bracketology yet. And, I tried pulling up the net rankings and stuff for the women's, but apparently it's a little bit different than the men's. So it was a little bit harder to pull up for this show. But, I still think that the Lady Vols are securely in the tournament at this point in time, just because of how difficult their non-conference schedule was. The MTSU loss will hurt them, although MTSU, they've been sitting right outside the top 25 for a long time. They're on like a double-digit winning streak right now. So, I mean, MTSU is a good basketball team, don't get me wrong, but it will reflect going into the tournament. The Lady Vols will need to make a bit of a run in the SEC tournament just to feel comfortable about what they have going forward.
No, absolutely. But I believe in the ladies. Obviously, they're having a tough one right now against LSU, but hopefully they can bounce back in the midweek. I believe that's a Thursday game, the 29th of February. That doesn't happen too often, about once every 4 years, of course.
No, that game is on SEC Network as well. So let's move right ahead to the men's. As they started off the week on a, you could call it a high note because you did get a win, but it wasn't pretty as Tennessee did beat Missouri 72-67. Missouri gave them a scare for a while, though. Now, these stats are correct. Tobe Awaka, Dalton Connect both led the way. Tobe Awaka with 18 points, 10 rebounds. Dalton Connect, 17 points and 10 rebounds, both of them posting a double-double. What were some of your thoughts in this game, Skylar?
You know what? I'll just be honest. We got to win, and that's all that matters. But this one felt like a loss. This one was, credit to the boys for pulling it out at the end. This was an 8-point lead. I believe Missouri hit like a last-second three to make it look a little bit closer than what it was. But, thank God for the second half and the second half of the second half, to be honest with you, because, man, Missouri came out, especially right out the gate obviously, the game started about 6 minutes after the start of the game, if you know what I'm talking about, where it was 0-1 for the longest time. But particularly right out the gate of the second half, Missouri wasn't playing around and kind of scared me a little bit. I knew we were still within range, but, I mean, at one point, Michael, we were down, I believe, 6-7 points in the ballgame, and I was a little worried. I mean, Missouri hit like back-to-back threes, got a turnover, hit a two, and that was right out the gates of the second half. And I'm like, man, this can't be happening right now. But Dalton Connect flipped the switch. And he even admitted it in the post-game, interview that Zakai Ziegler and Coach Rick Barnes kind of got in him and was like, hey, man, it's time for you to take over. Now, I have mixed emotions about that type of coaching or dependency on a player, but at the end of the day, you could kind of see the man just became possessed and decided to score the ball, and we got a big win. And thankfully, we didn't cough one up because now we're in first place of the SEC, baby.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that for just a second. What are those mixed emotions you have about a player being the one to say that?
So I love it in the sense of we've not really had that type of a player in a long time. But I dislike it because I never want a team to be so dependent on one player. So, I mean, we have dogs on this team outside of Dalton Connect. We've seen that all year, and that's how we got so far last year. I mean, we made it to the Sweet 16 and arguably should have been in the Elite Eight, but that didn't happen. But we did that all without Dalton Connect. So why is it this year we would be losing some of these games wholeheartedly? I'm saying that right now. We would lose some of these games if we didn't have Dalton Connect on our team. And that kind of raises an orange flag to me, no pun intended. I just feel like Dalton Connect should almost be that I mean, he has kind of been that safety net for us, but we should honestly be beating a team like Missouri, who was 0-12 in the SEC. We shouldn't need Dalton Connect to just take over like that to beat a team like that, in my opinion. I want to hear your side, though.
I agree with you. I didn't think about it like that just for the game in particular. I was looking at it positively as far as Zakai Ziegler being that guy to get in, connect like that. That shows the trust that Rick Barnes has in Zakai Ziegler. And in the post-game interview after last night's game, he was actually asked about that. He said, Coach Barnes and I, we have a fantastic relationship. And he said that in the past, I've come over to the bench in a timeout or something when we've been losing or things haven't been going well and being like, it's all good. We're good. We're good. And finally, Barnes came out and told me, dude, get in somebody. Get in their butts because, it's not all good. We got to have accountability on this team. And there's nobody better than you to do it. And he's 100% right. Zakai Ziegler is the heart and soul of this team. And you kind of see it, especially, it kind of like in football, point guard is the quarterback of the team. And that means Zakai Ziegler is the quarterback, and they go the way that he goes. So with him getting in Dalton Connect like he did, I think that says a lot about the trust that Rick Barnes has in his players, especially Zakai Ziegler. So that's the way that I looked at it. But you made a great point there that Tennessee, they're going to have to do some things and not rely solely on Dalton Connect.
Well, and they made some moves, and I want to talk about it because in this game it was particularly frustrating that Santi only had 1 point from a free throw.
Yeah.
And but on the flip side, to spin it positive, Awaka had the game of his life. He was the leading scorer of this game, as you can see down in the bottom of your screen. 18 points, 10 rebounds, had a double-double. I believe he even had no, he did not have any assists, but he had a block and a steal. But Toby Awaka kind of unlocking his potential has now convinced Rick Barnes that, hey, why not put both bigs on the floor at one time? And he's done that, obviously, a little bit in Missouri, and he used it a lot in the last game that we'll get to here in just a second. But I think that's a different dynamic that this team can bring that ultimately can kind of get us out of a scoring slump, if you will. Like if nobody's really hitting the shots, you put the bigs on the floor, play good defense, get some blocks, protect the rim, and then also get maybe some easier buckets because now they're not having to defend one big guy, but two. And we all know Awaka is one of the biggest offensive rebounds guy, I think, statistically, one of the best in the country. And it's just not on the leaderboards as much because of his limited time. But Toby Awaka is a dog when it comes to rebounding the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And, let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about this second game because he had another fantastic game as well in this one. Not as good as he did against Missouri, but Tennessee gets the win last night in a revenge game against Texas A&M, 86-51. Man, Skylar, that game was a lot of fun, was it not?
Yes, sir, and it won me some money. I'm not telling you to go out there and bet responsibly if you do it. But no, I bet the over on our score and the under on their score, and they couldn't have hit that any better. And shout out to Rick Barnes, 800th win. I believe he joins Calipari.
Calipari he's the only other active coach that has hit 800 right now.
And he's only at like 809. So Rick Barnes really isn't that far behind. And that's pretty cool that he's one of us. So he's big win there. Jonas Adu, Dalton Connect, obviously Toby Awaka with big nights. This game was kind of weird because, dude, I'll be honest, this game started exactly how we needed to, but then quickly didn't within 3 freaking shots from Wade out of A&M. I thought he was going to get hot again, and that was a scary moment, but Tennessee adjusted. Credit to Tennessee's defense. And we kind of just took off from there, and it was a fun game to watch. It really was.
Yeah, it was a really fun game to watch, and just look at the scoring comparisons here in the bottom right. I mean, Tennessee shot 52.5% from the field. Texas A&M only shot 27.3%. They took 34 3-pointers in the game. They shot 20% from the 3-point line. From the free throw line, they just barely shot over 50%. And what about the numbers from the rebounding standpoint? Last time that these two teams played, Tennessee was out rebounded by 10, I think. And Garcia had like 17 rebounds by himself. Tennessee out rebounded A&M last night by 17, 50-33. Tennessee took this one personal.
Oh yeah,
and they took that loss personal at A&M, and it showed on the court.
Well, and that's also some of the difference between having both bigs at the same time. You know, you get in a walk in there that played for almost 20 minutes. I mean, he had 17 minutes, probably some of the most playing time he's had this season. And then Adu played for 31 minutes. So it's not like Adu's coming out when Awaka comes in anymore, where that used to be how it was. But to be honest with you, between Adu and Awaka, we had 20 rebounds. Zakai Ziegler had 9. I mean, that kid was like everywhere. But just a big night on the boards. I think that played dividends. But I think the biggest thing that having Adu and Awaka on the floor at the same time is what you've already mentioned. They had to shoot 34 3-pointers because they wasn't getting in the paint with those two big guys playing at the same time. So they had to force the 3 ball. And fortunately for us, it wasn't going in for them. 27% from the field and 20% from 3 points, not going to get it done. And at that point, it was pretty much, I mean, it was over midway through the second half pretty much. And you love to see it because I'm telling you, man, A&M kind of snuck up and got one from us, and it might haunt us at the end of the season. So we're not past it yet, but at least we got, redemption over A&M.
Yeah, so the big thing, in my opinion, for this game last night, it's the same thing that happened earlier this year, I believe, against Ole Miss in the first SEC game of the year. So it was a tight first half between A&M and Tennessee last night, same as it was. Like I said, I think it was against Ole Miss. Tight first half, and right before the buzzer, Tennessee gets a 3-pointer to go up by 10 at the half, 37-27. And that was the momentum that Tennessee needed. They come out. They scored, it was either 5 or 7 straight points to start the second half. A&M made a 3. Looked like they were going to try to cut it back down again, but Tennessee, Zakai Ziegler specifically, said absolutely not, and they just never looked back from there. But let's talk about Zakai Ziegler for a second, man. He was 1 point and 1 rebound shy of a triple-double last night. He had 9 points, 9 rebounds, 14 assists, which is a new career high for Ziegler, and he did not have a turnover in the game.
I think that's the biggest thing is he also had 4 steals. I mean, that dude was a thief the other night. The one play in particular, the inbounds, which they replayed several times, where he was just kind of like chilling, and then like he knew exactly which way that guy was about to break to inbound the ball, and Zeke just intercepted it. Like, I mean, just like a safety would, and made it an easy, catch and layup, easy 2 points, and A&M didn't even know what the hell just happened. I mean, it was just like, okay, and he was there. It's not like he was hiding, but it was just the way he broke and knew exactly where he was going to break at the exact same time that he passed the ball in. It's little things like that that can not only give you some easy points, easy buckets, it also changes the momentum of the game, 100%. And some fans brought it up in the Facebook groups or whatever that TBA was a little quiet. I wholeheartedly disagree.
I do as well.
Anytime we made a play or a momentum changing type of play, I mean, dude, Tennessee was loud. Even forced A&M and that coach of his that likes to dance on the floor or whatever had to take some timeouts because it got so loud in that arena. And checkered kneeling is beautiful, but checkered TBA is a sight to see, honestly. I wish I was there. But no, TBA effect was full blast. Obviously, you got to shoot the ball in order to get the fans in it. You can't be losing by 6 and expect to have the TBA effect.
Yeah.
But I think they came out. I'm glad you mentioned the way Zakai played because he played fantastic. I kind of want to talk about Santi too. That 3-pointer to end the first half, that
was big.
It was huge. And then to come out of the half, I think like a minute 20 into the second half, and he hits another one in transition.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, you talking big for momentum. That was huge.
All right, so let's talk about him and let's talk about James for just a second because I want your opinion on this. So Santi and Josiah last night, they had 6 points and 8 points respectively. Both of them had 5 rebounds apiece. Santi had 2 assists. James had 4 assists. They each had a steal. James also had a block. are you okay with those performances from those two guys going forward when you've got guys like Ziegler, Connect, Adu, and Awaka doing their thing, and then you've got Gainey and Meshack at times that come out and do their thing as well to chip in? Are you okay with those performances from Vescovy and James going forward?
Well, I say in this particular situation, it also has to do with how they got those points. The way Santi got those points, completely okay with it. Because that changes the dynamic of the game and how it's played and whatnot. I mean, Rick Barnes and Tennessee, the way they can script up a play in the final seconds of a half or of a game, second to none.
Yeah,
I promise you right now, if we're next week playing Alabama and we're down by 1 with 27 seconds left to go or whatever, and they call a timeout to go to the drawing board, I might be the most confident fan ever, because more times than not this year, it works. I don't know how they keep doing it because it's always a different play. I don't think they've ever done a game like that where they go to the drawing board at the end of the half or whatever. And I really try to pay attention, and nothing seems to be the same. They are pick and rolling with two different guys every time, or however they set it up. I mean, Santi would be kind of not the last person I think of because he is our shooter, but you know it. He's not been the shooter this year. Yeah. But they still drew him up a play and believed in that kid to make a shot, and he did it, and they buried it. So that just shows me that Rick Barnes has complete trust of the entire offense, no matter who's on the floor. And it just depends on how they do it. To get back to your question, I'm not okay with it if that's just statistically what you're looking for. But let's be honest, you're not going to have the same three people get 15, 20 points a game. So I just need to make sure that they step up when their name is called to fill in if Adu's having an off night or Connect's having an off night or whatever. And I think they will. I think they can.
I'm going to say yes, I am okay with it because I've mentioned it a couple times. I don't need those guys coming out scoring 15 points a game. I've mentioned on numerous occasions, I want James showing up and getting 8 to 10, getting 5 to 6 rebounds, getting 4 to 5 assists. And, with Santi this year, I want the same thing from him. Now, he didn't hit that 8 to 10 that I said, but he was at 6. And you mentioned the 2 that he hit, the 2 threes that he hit, some of the biggest shots in the game momentum-wise. So I am okay with that performance, but you also mentioned it. Those other guys aren't going to get those numbers like they have been every single night. I would love if they did, because if they get those numbers every single night, this Tennessee team is going to win the whole thing.
I mean, Connect and Adu kind of have been. I mean, to be fair, they really have been at the top of the leaderboard almost every night.
For the most part, yes. Adu still frustrates me some, but he's been right there with it too. And if we can get this kind of performance from Awaka consistently off the bench, I have got so much positive. I've got a huge positive mindset going forward. If we can keep getting that from him as well. So I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, I think that game at Kentucky for Awaka woke him up. I think, that foul that ended up being a technical on like 4 people. Well, it wasn't a technical on 4 people. It was a personal on 4 people. That, I think, lit a flame under Awaka and a chip on his shoulder for the rest of the season that kind of makes me thankful that it happened. Oh, by the way, shout out to Kentucky doing everything that as a Tennessee fan we needed them to do, right? They lost to LSU in crazy fashion, turn around, beat Alabama. I mean, just a perfect scenario to set us up for what we're about to talk about. And that's the fact that this week, I mean, the last 2 weeks, Tennessee's done exactly what they needed to do. It does sting that we lost to A&M, and that's why I'm not going to say they did exactly what they needed to do. But they got 4 games in a row now where they've won. SEC's kind of beat each other up, and we were, I think, a game and a half back at one point, and now we are tied for the lead, but actually got the head-to-head over Alabama as we speak. Obviously, there's a massive matchup next weekend, but your Tennessee Vols are now sitting at first place in the SEC for regular season champions. Is that where you thought we would be sitting here, a week ago?
I think so. I was thinking that Tennessee would be right there, sitting either in first or second. I had no feel for that Kentucky-Alabama game yesterday.
That was insane. I think that's a one-off. I know Kentucky's been great offensively, but 117.
117, and they shot almost 70% from the field.
That's a one-off. There is no way.
Unbelievable.
There's no way they can replicate that, right? I mean, maybe they might do it, but I've never seen that happen in college ball.
No, it was unbelievable performance. But, there's a lot of stuff going on in the last 2 weeks of the season as each team in the SEC has 4 conference games left. You've got Alabama and Tennessee sitting tied for first in the conference. You've got Carolina and Auburn sitting at 1 game back, tied for third. You've got Florida and Kentucky sitting 2 games back, tied for fifth. And Mississippi State is slowly sneaking in there as well. They're 3 games back and on a 5-game winning streak right now. So don't count them out, as these last 2 weeks of the season are going to be huge going forward. And let's just real quick look at what each team has left. So we've got Alabama this week. They travel to Ole Miss, and then they host Tennessee this weekend in a huge matchup.
College game day is going to be there.
Yes, absolutely. College game day is going to be there. Next week, they travel to Florida and then host Arkansas. So I see 2 wins for Alabama here. Could be 4 wins. I will say, I'm not confident about Tennessee going to Alabama. It's a tough place to play. I think the game will be close, but sitting here right now, unfortunately, I'm going to say that Alabama does get the best of Tennessee. I think that Alabama wins 3 out of the last 4 games. I think that Florida game right there could be a huge game that Florida could end up getting a win and picking up some ground. South Carolina sitting in third place here. Their final few games, they travel to A&M. Then they host Florida before hosting Tennessee and traveling to Mississippi State. So that's a huge schedule right there that I think South Carolina ends up dropping 2 games. I think that Florida comes into Carolina and beats them, and I think Tennessee comes into South Carolina and absolutely whoops them.
Hey, I think this graphic here actually speaks a lot. I'm glad you brought this up, but remember earlier in the season we lost to Mississippi State? We were like, what the hell was that? Look at what Mississippi State has done since then, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Mississippi State has literally helped our resume by the fact that they've been beating everybody else too. I mean, so, we've lost to South Carolina, yes, but South Carolina was hot in the middle of the season. They've since cooled down just a little bit, but, losing to Mississippi State, losing to A&M, right? A&M's now that one that just is like, what were we doing? But even then, I mean, they're right there middle of I think they fell a little bit after we beat them. Actually, what was that, 3 or 4 games in a row A&M's lost now? I mean, they were sitting pretty. They were sitting prime after beating Tennessee to be right there in the tournament, maybe as like a 12 and 13 seed. But since then has just fallen off. But we did get our revenge, which is big. But I mean, I'm saying, I guess generally Mississippi State's helping us out by the fact that they're right there in the thick of it, man. Look, I know we've only got 4 games left. This graphic, potentially, it's going to have the same teams on it, but could look a whole lot different.
And Auburn has got the easiest stretch here at the end, I believe. They do come to Knoxville on Wednesday night, and I do think that Tennessee gets a win in that one, but it's going to be close. Bruce Pearl coming back into Thompson-Boling Arena. But then here's the rest of their games. Now, Mississippi State is not going to be a cakewalk, but they host Mississippi State on next Saturday. Then they play against Missouri or at Missouri, and then they host Georgia to complete the season. That's a pretty easy stretch there. I see Auburn only dropping one of those games, and they could win all 4 games, which would be huge for Auburn. They could absolutely jump up to the top spot in the conference. Florida finish off the season. They host Missouri on Wednesday night before traveling to South Carolina. Then they host Alabama before finishing off the season against Vanderbilt. I've got Florida going 3-1 to end the season right here. I think that they drop the game at home against Alabama, but I think they go to Columbia, South Carolina, and knock off the Gamecocks. 2 more teams to get to. Kentucky. They play Mississippi State on the road. That could be an interesting game right there. Before hosting Arkansas, then they host Vanderbilt and finish off the season with a matchup in Thompson-Boling Arena against Tennessee. I'm going to go Kentucky 2-2 in this stretch. I think that Mississippi State knocks them off, and then Tennessee gets them in Knoxville to finish off the season here. And Mississippi State, they host Kentucky. They travel to Auburn. Then they travel to Texas A&M before hosting South Carolina. I believe I've got Mississippi State going 2-2 in this stretch. I think they do knock off Kentucky before losing to Auburn. Then they beat Texas A&M before dropping game to South Carolina to finish the season. It is you mentioned it. This graphic is going to be the same, but it's going to be a different order going on. And Tennessee, they've got Auburn Wednesday night. They've got Alabama on Saturday before playing playing at South Carolina next Wednesday night, and then finishing off the season with a home game against Kentucky. Tennessee has definitely got the toughest 4-game stretch to end this season, but none of these teams, except for maybe Auburn, has an easy stretch to end the season.
Yeah, I think I kind of want to center this around Tennessee just because that's who we are.
Yeah.
This week alone, potentially the most important week of basketball for Tennessee.
I agree.
Auburn, Alabama. I know the next week has South Carolina, Kentucky. I think you have to go 2-0 this week, and then I don't care what you do the final week. But go 2-0 this week. And then, like I said, I do not care what you do in the second week, because at that point, I think there's no way we're worse than a 2 seed in the tournament. And depending on how the dominoes fall, if you go 2-0 this week, you're dead center first place of the SEC.
I agree with you. I think that the best case scenario would be to go 2-0. I just don't know if Tennessee can go down to Alabama and get a win the way that both of these teams are playing right now. I've got Tennessee going 1-1 this week before going 2-0 next week, which is still going to be big. But
that would still potentially be the same, I guess, end result that I'm looking for. But I just think right now, and this is because we've already technically beat Bama too. I just feel like Kentucky's a little bit more dangerous than Alabama is right now. And thankfully we get that game at home, to end the season. But and that may be the difference. But I think the best case scenario, obviously 4-0, but realistic best case scenario is to go 3-1 in these last 4 games. I just feel like there's not so much weight on the shoulders if you can at least start out 2-0 this week, and then you almost have a game to give in the last week. Not that I want to give any of them away, but it's almost super unrealistic to think that we're about to go 4-0 against Auburn, Alabama, South Carolina, Kentucky. If we do, sign me up. I'm buying a daggone March Madness bracket. We're winning the whole goddamn thing. I'm serious. That's some stiff competition, and that's what's going to help Tennessee too in these arguments of a number 1 to number 2 seed is the fact that how we're finishing. Obviously, our schedule's all it's been tough this whole year. That's why we have as many losses as we do is because we played 3 freaking Kansas, Purdue, and North Carolina to start the year. But to finish the year the way we are, dude, I'm telling you, if we go 3-1, I'm very, very happy with where we're at going into postseason play.
I'm with you. And looking at this, look how similar Tennessee and Auburn are in this. They both have the exact same record overall. Tennessee sitting 1 game ahead of them in the conference. The net rankings here, and I put this over to the side here, the quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can kind of look at that, and I'm not going to go into full detail of what all that means, but this net ranking here all has to do with these quad games that they played. Tennessee is 4-5 against quad 1 opponents. Auburn's 1-6. All 6 of their losses have come against quad 1 opponents. So what that means is the good opponents that you play against, Tennessee is sitting right at 500, just below it. Auburn hadn't done well against teams that are really, really good against them, but they're good against teams that they should beat. They're undefeated against quad 2, quad 3, and quad 4 teams. Tennessee does have one single quad 1 or quad 2 loss right here. I believe that was Mississippi State at the time. It could have been Texas A&M though. I'm not 100% sure, but they do have one quad 2 loss. But the big thing is you don't want any quad 3 or quad 4 losses in this one. And then Ken Palm, we mentioned earlier this year the offensive and defensive efficiency. they're sitting back-to-back in these rankings right here, both of them in the top 25 in both offense and defensive efficiency. So it's going to be a fun game on Wednesday night. And then we've got the Alabama game on Saturday. They're sitting right at back-to-back in the net rankings as well. Both of them have a quad 2 loss. Tennessee slightly better in the quad 1 right here. Ken Palm sitting back-to-back. Alabama with the number 1 overall offense. But, and this is what played into effect in that Kentucky game, 97th in defensive efficiency, and it showed.
Yeah. Their head coach, Nate Oates, kind of went in on him. I think he was a little harsh, but I think he was also embarrassed. He went in hard on his team for just the lack of defense. And, I mean, there was a lack of defense, but I also didn't feel like Alabama offensively didn't play bad at all. They still scored like 96 points, which is insane. But as we both know, Alabama and Kentucky are almost a copy and paste. You could throw either jersey on either team, and they are like the exact same team because they are so good offensively and just nowhere defensively. I mean, like, it's pretty bad between those teams and how similar they are, and that's their flaw, right? But I think the biggest kicker for us and our flaw, because you can see right here, offensively, defensively, I'll take that all day.
Yep.
But I think our flaw is just how inconsistent we are.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. That's concerning going forward.
Yeah, and I think when it comes down to tournament play, we just got to get hot, man, because I think as a fan, I would rather have a high-powered offense, just like our football team, and take our chances with our defense and at least know where we got, or, know what we've got, rather than going in saying, are we going to make a basket or not today? Type of scenario, because I think that's where tournament play, I think Alabama and Kentucky probably have a better deck of cards than we do. But if we can just get some consistency from our guys, no doubt do we have the most potential from our, I will take my team over them any day. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest difference in all of this, Alabama's played some quad 1s. They've got 10 quad 1s. So I mean, strength of schedule, Alabama's right there at the top with everybody. But in fact, according to this graphic, I mean, Alabama and Tennessee are almost identical when it comes to what they're showing. And that's why the Ken Palm rankings is 6 and 7 for Tennessee Bama. And I think the biggest difference there is the fact that we got the head-to-head. So, like I said, this is probably the most important week of basketball for our boys. And I would really love to stick it to Alabama one more time.
Yep, I'm with you on that. So I believe this concludes our basketball talk for this week. Get ready to watch some good basketball coming up this week. As Skylar mentioned, this is probably the most important week of basketball for our Vols team. So now we're going to jump right into the baseball diamond, as Tennessee has played. They're playing their 5th game of the week today. We'll start off on Tuesday night as the Vols took on UNC Asheville in Lindsey Nelson Stadium and got the win 3-2. It was a tight contest, but these midweek games, yes, they are important, but it's also about
I'm out. Y'all be good.
All right. So these midweek games, it's really about getting some of your younger guys playing time. And this game was no different, as Austin Huntley had a good night on the mound. He ended up getting the win. 3 1/3 innings pitched, no runs, 2 strikeouts, no walks on the night. He did get the win in this game, as I mentioned. You also had guys like Derek Schaefer actually got the start in this game, and Andrew Benke also came in the game. They all pitched very well, but in the end, Austin Huntley gets the win. Kavarius Tears in this game was 2 for 4 with a home run. That RBI was his home run, as well as the run. He also had one other hit in the ball game. Other guys getting hits in the game. Dylan Dreiling had a hit. He also scored a run in the game. Let's see. Christian Moore also had a hit and an RBI. Hunter Inslee had an RBI on a sacrifice. So some good showing from Tennessee in that one, picking up a midweek win. Moving forward on Wednesday night, Tennessee hosted ETSU, and it was not close after the third inning as Tennessee scored 11 runs in the third inning. Just fantastic game from the Vols. Only gave up one hit. Dylan Lloyd did get the win in this game. He only pitched one inning. He had 2 strikeouts and also a hit by pitch. Did not give up a hit or a run. Tennessee used this game here to throw 5 arms as Matthew Dallas got the start in the game. Then Dylan Lloyd came in. Marcus Phillips got an inning of work. So did Braden Sharp, and J.J. Garcia also got some work in the game. This game only went to 7 innings as the run rule was in effect. Tennessee in this game had 13 hits, and you could have picked a couple different people in this game to be the player of the game, as I guess we will call it. But in this one, Dean Curley was 2 for 4 with a home run. He also had a single in the game. But you had Christian Moore went 2 for 3. You also had pinch hitter Colby Backus get a hit. Blake Burke was 1 for 3 in the game. Billy Amick was 1 for 2. Kavares Tears 1 for 2 in the game. Robin Villeneuve 1 for 2. Dean Curley was actually 2 for 3. I apologize, not 2 for 4. Dylan Dreiling also came in. He was 1 for 2. Hunter Inslee was 3 for 3 here. Gave it to Dean Curley in this one, though, because of the home run. But good night from the plate for Hunter Inslee as well. So we will move ahead to the weekend series, which started Friday night as Tennessee took on Albany and got the win 8-5. A little bit of concerning news out of this game. A.J. Russell did leave the game early with an injury to his side. He has some soreness in his side. No update on A.J. Russell going forward, but Chris Stamos comes in, gets the win. He pitched 3 innings, gave up 1 hit, 2 runs. They were both earned, 1 strikeout, and 2 walks. Blake Burke was the big bat in this game. He was 1 for 3 with a home run, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored, and he walked in the game. Looking up some of the other guys that had hits, as Tennessee had 11 hits on the night. Dylan Dreiling was 1 for 3. Christian Moore was 2 for 4. Kavares Tears 2 for 5 in the game. Billy Amick 2 for 4. Dean Curley 1 for 4. Cal Stark 1 for 2. And Cannon Peebles was 1 for 1 on the night. Gave it to Blake Burke because of the home run tonight. But so some good action all the way around, as 3 innings apiece from A.J. Russell, Chris Stamos, and A.J. Causey in the game. But Chris Stamos does end up getting the win in the ball game. Saturday's game was a totally different story, as the Bats absolutely came alive in the game. Let me pull up the graphic real quick. 21-6 was the final in this one. Tennessee used a huge 4th inning and followed it up in the 5th, 6th, and 8th innings. As I said, the 21-6 win. This game could have gone to any batter for the player of the game. I'll start off with pitching, as Drew Beam went 5 innings, gave up 6 hits, 2 runs, both of them earned, 4 strikeouts, and a hit by pitch in the ball game. Aaron Combs also got an inning of work in the game. So did Dylan Lloyd, Luke Payne, and J.J. Garcia. They all saw pitching action in this game. From the plate, as I mentioned, anybody could have gotten the player of the game in this one, but gave it to Dalton Bargo, who had a fantastic game. He was 3 for 4 with a home run, a double, 2 RBIs, and 3 runs scored in the game. Other players who had good action, Christian Moore was 1 for 3 in the game. Dylan Dreiling 1 for 2. Billy Amick, 2 for 5. Kavarius Tears, 1 for 3. Cannon Peebles, 1 for 3. Robin Villeneuve was 2 for 3 with a monster home run. Kavarius Tears also had a monster home run in the game. Blake Burke was 2 for 4. Reese Chapman, 1 for 2. Dean Curley, 1 for 4. Mentioned Dalton Bargo was 3 for 4 in the game, as 4 home runs were hit in the game. Kavarius Tears, Robin Villeneuve, Dean Curley, and Dalton Bargo all left the yard in this game. So Tennessee baseball is playing right now in the last game of the 3-game series. I'll get that pulled up in just a second. But Tennessee baseball has been starting off hot this year. Their bats do cool off at times, a little bit slow start sometimes, but when their bats come alive, man, they tend to come alive, and that can be a good thing or a bad thing going down the stretch this season, as this means that no lead is safe for any team because of how hot Tennessee's bats can get, but it also means that Tennessee can cool off when they don't need to. Tennessee right now, bottom of the 6th inning, is up 10-0, so Tennessee well on their way to a series sweep to begin the season. Now we will move ahead to softball, as Tennessee will have another full week of baseball this week. Stay tuned on the socials. We will do a better job this week of putting stuff on there, as they will have, as I mentioned, another full week. Now, moving over to softball, Tennessee starts off another tournament out in California. Started off on a really, really high note in this one, as 4-0 win against Loyola Marymount. Kiki Malloy becomes Tennessee's new all-time home run leader, as she was 1 for 3 with a home run in the game. She is now at 58 home runs and counting. I believe she did hit a couple more home runs this weekend, but congratulations to Kiki Malloy for that. But the big story in this one, at least for me, Carlin Pickens throws her second career perfect game, as she went all 7 innings, no hits, no runs, and 12 strikeouts, as well as not walking a single batter in the game. Fantastic effort from Carlin Pickens. Congratulations to her for her second career perfect game. As I will pull up the box score here, being a little bit slow right now, but yes, Kiki Malloy, 1 for 3 with the home run. McKenna Gibson was also 1 for 3. She homered in the game as well. Zeta Pooney, 1 for 3. Alana Leach was 1 for 3 as well. And Taylor Pinnell was 1 for 1 in the game. I believe I missed Destiny Rodriguez, 1 for 3 in the game as well. So great game from the Lady Vols. Moving on to the second game of a doubleheader that was not so good for the Lady Vols, as they dropped one to Cal State Fullerton, who has played some very tough competition to start this year. Beat a couple of good teams, including this Tennessee team, who is ranked in the top 10 in the nation. As I mentioned, Tennessee loses 11-2 in this one. Only had 2 hits in the ball game. One of them was a Riley West. Riley West was 1 for 3, and Taylor Pinnell was 1 for 3 as well. Taylor Pinnell's was a solo home run in the game. So let's see, Peyton Godshaw with the loss in this one. She went 3 2/3, gave up 6 hits, 6 runs, 3 of them earned, 8 strikeouts in the game, and a hit by pitch. Charlie Orsini came in afterwards, went a third of an inning, and then Riley West comes in to finish the game. Riley White comes in to finish the game off. So Lady Vols do drop 1 out in California. Sorry, I didn't even have the graphic pulled up, but this was the graphic for the Cal State Fullerton game. As I mentioned, not very good for the Lady Vols. They do come back, and yesterday they secured a victory against Oregon State around the 5 o'clock hour. Peyton Godshaw went all 7 innings, bouncing back from that game against Cal State Fullerton. She went 7 innings. It went 4 hits, 1 run. It was earned, and 9 strikeouts with no walks or hit by pitches in the game. Riley West had the big bat in the game, as she was 2 for 3 with a home run, RBI run scored, and she was also walked in the game. Looking at the other players that got hits in the game, Kiki Malloy was 1 for 4 in the game. As I mentioned, Riley West 2 for 3. Sophia Nugent was 1 for 4. Destiny Rodriguez 1 for 3. Alana Leach 1 for 4 in the game, and Cameron Sarvis pinch hit, and she was 1 for 1. And Julia Katsuyano, I don't know how to say her name, Skylar.
I think it's something like Castanopoulos or something like that. It's crazy.
We'll go with that, and we'll try to get it right at some point. But she also was 1 for 2 in the game. Laura Mealer did go 1 for 3 in the game as well. 3 Lady Vols touch them all in the game. And Sophia Nugent, Riley West, and Kiki Malloy all hit home runs in the ball game. So
your new queen of home runs.
Yep, she got that
Number
in the Loyola got that in the Loyola Marymount game, and it's just counting up now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm probably way behind, and I apologize for that. When work calls, unfortunately, I answer, and that's what we do. For you guys that don't know, I work for a restoration business, and water damage doesn't take weekends off, unfortunately. And so right in downtown Knoxville, we just had a job get called in, so I got the crews headed that way. I'm going to head there as soon as this job or this podcast is wrapped up. So I apologize for Michael leaving you like that, but I do appreciate you guys for understanding and letting me go take that phone call so we can help out somebody who's having a pretty rough day today. So, but we're back. Big week for softball. Obviously, they had a tough game right before this one. I believe you already talked about it. That was a tough game, but they're bouncing back in a big way, and I still feel like this could be some special years or seasons for the Lady Vols Softball and the men's baseball team. I'm telling you right now, we've got 2 of some of the best programs out there this year. And I'm not just saying that as a fan. I'm saying that wholeheartedly as in just where Karen Weekly has this girls softball team and what they're doing right now. I know it may not seem like a lot because the season just started, but guys, look at our schedule and who we're beating right out the gates. I mean, these are super regional type matchups, and we are beating them handedly. Look at this scoreboard. So I've got another work call, Michael. It's blowing up. I'll be right back. All right.
You're good, man. We'll do what we got to do here. But Lady Vols last night finished off the day with another. Sorry, this score is not correct. I apologize for the graphics. I promise I will get them correct next week. I did put a lot of these together on the fly. I do have the box score down here correct. Tennessee gets a win over UCF 3-0. Riley West with the big bat once again in this one, as Riley goes a 3 for 4 on the night. 3 for 4 on the night with a double. She also had a run scored in the game. Other Lady Vols that got in the hit column, McKenna Gibson was 1 for 4 on the night. Destiny Rodriguez, 2 for 4. Cameron Sarvis, 1 for 2. And Taylor Pennell, 1 for 3 on the night. Carlin Pickens gets the win in this one. As she goes 7 innings, gives up 6 hits, no runs, 2 walks, and 14 strikeouts in the game. So another fantastic effort from the Lady Vols. They are playing right now against Hawaii. This is the Mary Nutter Collegiate Classic, and the Lady Vols are up 1-0 in this game. It is the bottom of the 2nd inning. Looks like Kiki Malloy is standing on first right now. So
before you
Lady
get
Vols threatening.
Before you get too crazy, by the way, I'm like DJ Khaled, another one. Crazy. What Carlin Pickens did in this game, or was it this game? No, it was UCF. They didn't score, did they?
UCF did not score. The box score is correct. This is another one that I messed up the score at the top.
It's all good. Man, I'm gonna have to fire you after this. This is crazy. No, I'm joking. This
is week one of the graphics, man. Come on.
It's first time. It's all right. It's all right. We didn't double check. We didn't reprove. It's okay. No. What Carlin Pickens did in this game,
I believe it was this one you were talking about, the perfect game.
The perfect game. That is insane, dude. That doesn't happen often at all, but having 12 Ks, nobody got on base, and that is something that doesn't just need to get skipped over. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, dude. Karen Weekly's got this team rolling. I mean, we've got the offense to hang with anybody. You're starting to see that. I mean, this is a true sophomore Pickens that is pitching as good as anybody in the country. And we seen a glimpse of it in the World Series last year. And I remember myself saying, why the hell are we pitching a freshman in this type of moment? But this is exactly what Karen Weekly's seen in her. And this is why I'm a fan and not a coach. Because now you're seeing, because she got that type of exposure and got the butterflies out of her stomach, she knows what the big moments feel like now, that she can go out there now in any regular season game and not even feel any pressure. Just go out there and be her. And that, I think, is going to be the difference in the world and making us one of the teams to beat in the SEC.
Yep, I 100% agree with you. So a big week for spring sports this week, as out of all of these games to this point, only one loss, and that was the Lady Vols against Cal State Fullerton. So Volunteers go 4-0 this past week. They're up 10-0 right now, possibly more since the last time I checked, as they're playing right now. Lady Vols this week sitting at 3-1. They're playing right now, and they are ahead. So a big week this past week from Tennessee sports.
No, absolutely. I'm assuming you've already talked about the men's baseball game or team, and honestly, that's a whole lot of whoopings right there.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about baseball, just because we didn't get any of your thoughts from it because of the work call, and we're glad that you're back now. But
thank you, sir.
I'll pull up the graphics again for you as the first.
You don't have to really do that. I can just speak from the top of my, because I mean I'm just gonna put it all together. But man, what an addition Billy Amick's been. You're talking about the baseball version of Dalton Connect. Coming in from Clemson. We kind of didn't know this in the preseason, just how big of a dog he was. I knew he had some good stats in Clemson, but I just thought that Zane Denton was more of a more involved in this team right now. And right now he's just unfortunately not. We've learned that he's got some personal things going on that he's trying to work on and get better at, and prayers to him, and hopefully he gets situated out. But I tell you what, Billy Amick came in, didn't blink an eye, and he came in. You've got him batting on all cylinders. You got Burt Bombs are back, baby. We got back home, and he's just been blasting them out of the park. Christian Moore's doing his thing.
And what about this guy right here,
about number 17? I was about to get there, if that's who you're talking about. Do you know how to say his last name?
Robin Villeneuve.
Villeneuve.
Yeah, I thought it was Villeneuve, but they didn't pronounce it yesterday as Villeneuve.
Villeneuve. I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, this is what I'm talking about. From top to bottom, guys. I mean, this is, ladies, gentlemen, whoever's watching, from top to bottom in any of these lineups. Tony Vitello has the freedom to swap up his lineup and not even care. Just anybody at any moment can send one over the fences. I've not even talked about Kavarius Tears, who's freaking hit 2 or 3 in the opening week.
Yeah, I think he's hit 4 total on the season now.
That's what I'm saying, dude. I mean, just blasting them out of the park. I'll be honest with you, I was a little sour tasted in our center fielder, Hunter Inslee.
Yep.
Because of how poorly he batted last year in terms of numbers. But he's been so good in the leadoff spot, dude. He's been so good. I mean, he started out the season 0 for 4 to start the game at least. He ended up getting that clutch hit at the end of the game, so he was technically 1 for 5. Ever since then, that kid's been, he's been phenomenal. Hunter Inslee's been at the top of his game, and I'm serious, dude. I know I'm getting jitters because I just love baseball almost as much as I love football. These teams that we have in softball and baseball, I encourage the Vol fans that are watching this. I know it's not many right now. We've got about 5 or 6 viewers between Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, but you would do yourself a favor if you watch some of these players play. because domination is what it is. Domination.
Yeah, and how good of a problem is it for Tony Vitello to have just so much depth that he can literally put in whoever he wants to? I mean, it's a problem, but it's a problem that you want to have because there's so many guys on this team that could start for literally anybody and play for literally anybody that, he's swapping around so much that Tennessee doesn't miss a beat.
Yeah, he's built a Nick Saban-esque 2013, 2014 Bama where it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you lose your number one running back in Derrick Henry because you've got three other ones in the hatch ready to be, turned loose. So it's crazy, but it's something that our baseball team hasn't really seen since our glory days in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, and some of those other guys that we mentioned, you mentioned Billy Amick, Cannon Peebles is one of those guys as well. Dean Curley, who is mentioned in this game right here. Of course, Blake Burke in that one right there. But Dalton Bargo, man, he had himself a game yesterday, as well as a bunch of other people. But I gave the player of the game to Dalton Bargo here because he was one hit shy of the cycle. He was 3 for 4 with a home run, a double, and a single. All he needed was a triple, and he would have had the cycle in that game.
That's the hardest one. I'll tell you what. Everybody just assumes that it's the home run that's the hardest to get, but a triple and really any baseball game, it's hard to get a triple. You got to get some luck, maybe a corner shot that goes foul and like ricochets off something to make it harder on the outfielder. It's hard to get a triple unless you're just stupid fast. But no, Dalton Bargo had a great game, and I'm excited. I'm excited about what this team is really going to do. I think they have all the potential in the world to only have one loss going into SEC play, and that one loss coming to overtime against Oklahoma. I'm almost confident in that. And if that's what we come to, are we talking about a 2021-esque baseball season where we only lose 8 to 9 games in the year?
I'm going to say no because of how strong the SEC is this year. There is 6 teams right now from the SEC in the top 10 alone. So, I mean, the SEC is very strong this year in baseball, which they normally are, but this year it just seems like it's something extra in baseball. So I'm going to say no to that, but I still think that this Tennessee team has what it takes to make the World Series.
I've had some friends ask, why is Oklahoma and Texas not in the SEC in baseball season? Because it's 2024, but people got to remember it's the academic calendar year. Yes, so they won't be in the conference until basically the summer of, I think it's like July or something, when I guess the official transition. But it's going to be the academic school year. So it'll be the 24 football season. It'll be the 25 baseball season. That calendar, school calendar, academic year is what they call it. So that's the only reason. Because honestly, I was kind of confused at first too. But it really makes all the sense in the world if you kind of think about it, not necessarily year to year, but academic year to year. So
let me ask you a question because I want your thoughts on it. Something that I brought up while you had your work call. Tennessee at times on offense gets a little bit stagnant.
Yes.
We saw the Oklahoma game. You only scored 1 run in 10 innings of play. So Tennessee's offense can be stagnant at times, but you also see this game in particular, and going back to the ETSU game where they scored 11 runs in 1 inning, Tennessee's offense can get going in a hurry and put up mountains of runs in a game as they put up 9 in the 4th, 4 in the 5th, 5 in the 6th, and then 3 again in the 8th. How big is that going forward for the Vols that they can just attack on offense like that?
I love what they do, particularly with 2 outs. One of these innings, I don't think it was against UA. I don't think it was against Albany. They played I can't remember the game. It might have been ETSU.
What was it? This one where they scored 11 in the 3rd here?
I think it was that one. But like half of those runs in the 3rd were on 2 outs. So I mean, it's more important, I think, what they do with 2 outs when you think the inning is just 1 pitch away from being over, and then the next thing you know, you look up and you scored 6 more runs. That's a dangerous feeling for an offense and a very scary one for the defense. As a pitcher, that 3rd out, that 1st and 3rd out are always the hardest, really. But let's be honest, that Oklahoma game you bring up, that, and Tony Vitello said it, that's a super regional matchup type situation.
Yeah, I agree.
The feeling of the game, it was only, I think, the second or third game of the season.
Second game.
It was a second game of the season, and it's a pitcher's duel. I mean, that's all it was. And it's baseball. You're going to see games like that. I mean, it's unrealistic to think that our offense is going to put up 9 runs a game, as cool as it sounds. And they might do that if they keep pouring it on these smaller schools. But I think you're seeing the difference of pitching from these schools compared to what you're going to see, moving forward, which can set you up to kind of fail you once you get into SEC play. But I think starting off the season against those teams the way they did, they know where they stand. And now they're practicing and getting better against the smaller teams to where when they open it up against, SEC plays. Well, actually, I'm going to bring up Kansas State. They've got a midweek against Kansas State where they'll kind of get back into the things and the click of things. And then they got Illinois right before they play Alabama. So they'll have their fair amount of warm-up games or whatever that you want to call it before they get back into the swing of things, as far as not that these aren't meaningful games, but let's be honest, these are just kind of get you back in the feeling of playing 5 games in a week or so. Because you got to acclimate to that. You go from not playing really hardly at all other than scrimmaging to bam, you're in it 4 or 5 games a week. So they're trying to acclimate to that, get used to the schedule. Obviously, they got spring, academics going on as well. So trying to balance that ball and schoolwork transition. And, I think the boys are in the right mindset. I think they have a chip on their shoulder. I think they want to get back to the World Series. And honestly, that's the ultimate goal. I will not take anything less than that.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. The point that I brought up with a lot of these big innings is the positive thing for me is that this means that if you get behind in a game, no lead is safe for the other team.
Let's be honest. Tennessee baseball in the last 3 or 4 years has never been safe.
No,
Look
never.
at what we've done in the 9th innings of so many different games. Think of Clemson last year. Clemson last year was winning by, and we've got that in the highlight reel.
I was going to say we got two clips in the highlight reel,
and none of those clips are even what we did with Vandy in the first game. Yeah. That Friday night game against Vandy, where you just think it's over, and then Kavarius Steers, our freshman, steps in, and
Dylan Dreiling.
Yep, Dylan Dreiling. This team has never. I mean, they've been down, but they've never been out. Okay, yeah. I want to make sure I say that right. They've been down a lot of times, and sometimes they don't make that miraculous comeback, and that's okay. But I can promise you, out of any other college team out there, we make that comeback more times than any other team does. I mean, they just, for some reason, Tony Vitello has just instilled that belief in our team that you could literally score 0 runs 8 innings of the game, and you're going to blow up for 7 in the 9th inning and win this ball game. I love it. I'm fine with it. I wish they would play early so that there's not that much stress as a fan, but it also makes it really worth watching this team.
That's being a Tennessee fan, though. You're constantly going to have stress. So do you have anything else on Tennessee baseball or softball before we move forward in the show?
No, man, and don't want to be short. I do need to try to wrap this thing up. I got to head downtown Knoxville, try to restore building. So let's move this thing right on along.
All right, so we will start with the update in the NCAA lawsuit. I believe Skylar has a graphic that he wants to pull up real quick.
Yeah, I had the coaches actually up first, but it's all right. I got it pulled up right here. Look at that. Bam. If you want to get rid of the overlays for the game.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. So Tennessee, the judge grants the injunction in Tennessee versus NCAA. That's really not shocking. All right. So federal court freezes NIL rules. Victory for the state of Tennessee, of course, but this is a victory for the state of NCAA. All right. I seen a meme. All right. Stick with me. I got a 6th sense of humor, but it was also funny. First Tennessee saved Texas. Now we just saved the NCAA or the college sports, I would say. We didn't save the NCAA. Tennessee's basically everybody's daddy. All right. So the reason why I say it's funny is people don't realize outside of the state of Tennessee, people don't realize why we're called the Volunteers, which has made it's come to my attention that I feel like I do need to do a little history session here. We've got Davy Crockett, obviously, is kind of like our secondary mascot, if you will. The battle at the Alamo. Remember the Alamo, the tech, like we literally sent volunteers down there to win that thing. And that's how we got the Volunteers nickname. And so many people don't know that. They just think that we voluntarily called ourselves the Volunteers. And I'm like, I cannot believe that. I guess history is just lacking here lately. I don't know, but that's how we got our name. So I thought that was kind of a funny meme there, is like we saved Texas first. That's why the whole who's the real UT, it's not really even a question for Tennessee fans, because we know. Like, Texas probably wouldn't even be a thing if it wasn't for
Yeah.
it wasn't for the Volunteers. So no, this is a big deal. But what does it really mean, Michael? Do you have an idea of what the next step is moving forward? Now, I will say this. Nico's free. All right. So this whole investigation on Nico and how he was recruited, this trumps that. It's over. Nico's our guy.
Yep.
And
So this right here basically just means that the NCAA cannot do anything as far as NIL goes. Tennessee has I really don't know the right words to say it, but Tennessee basically just did what every other school in the NCAA wanted to do, but Tennessee had the cojones to do it. Just to be honest,
well, we had the ammo to do it.
Yeah,
we had the ammo. Like, it wasn't like, it was almost like Tennessee was preparing for this moment and kind of waiting for it to happen. Is that not kind of what you get out of this? I mean,
yeah, kind of. And this second line right here, because the top line we basically just covered with that graphic that Skylar showed, where the judge grants the injunction. But this second one was a quote from Judge Coker himself, who said the NCAA's prohibition likely violates federal antitrust law and harms student athletes. So the NIL, I guess, rules that you would say that they have, none of them is legal, which means the NCAA can do nothing. Now, what does this mean going forward? Is it going to benefit Tennessee and other places? That's to be determined. It could be, as some people have said, the Wild Wild West that's about to come up. But I do think that this is a big blow to the NCAA. They don't have the power that they think that they did.
Well, and I think they knew they didn't.
Yeah.
I don't look. I think the NCAA is dumb. I don't think it could be that dumb. The gist of this is you can't put guidelines on what a student can make off his name, image, and likeness, right? You can't determine that a kid's only worth $500,000 or $2 million. Like, who are you to say he's not worth that or worth more than that? You're not. So the guidelines, that is exactly what they were. They're guidelines. You can try to follow them, but you're not regulated to law, which is what this is saying, to follow them. So, I mean, I guess I'm all about the sport. That's just where my love and passion's at. So is this a good thing for the student athletes? This is probably the best thing. They can now maximize their potential in name, image, and likeness, and that is great. I'm all for that. All right, for the student athlete, don't get me wrong. I think you should get yours. You've worked your ass off to get it. Excuse my French. But as a sport, I don't really know if this helps, right? They're already changing the play. We haven't even had a playoff of more than 4 teams. They've already changed that sucker, all right? Now it's 5 best conference or 4 best five
best conference champions.
Yeah, but the 5th conference is like a group of 5. It's not even a conference. It's the 4 conferences and then the best group of 5 school. And then you got 7 at-large bids. They just changed that, right? And now they're talking about coming out with like a 14-team playoff. We've not even had the freaking 12-team playoff. I mean, so it's like, I'm tired of the rapid change. Like, make a big change. I'm cool with it. We just made one. Now let's freaking ride it out for 10 years and see where it goes. If we don't like it, let's make another change.
Or even give me 5 years. 10 years would be better, but give me 5 years of it. Yeah. See where it goes. Get you a small sample size, and then make another change if you need to.
Because the way we're changing things right now, it almost, not that it does, but it almost invalidates the championships that are given. Like, think about it. I guess let's just say a playoff of 4. Ohio State wins the very first one. That was massive to say. First of an era.
Yeah.
Well, now you just ended that era within 10, 15 years. What an era that was. Like now it's whoever wins the first 12-team playoff, that's going to be a massive deal. That's the first of an era. But if you're going to sit there and change it after 2 years, like what you almost, not that it invalidates it. They still won the championship. All right. That's still on their banners. They still get all the bonuses for it. But
Michigan's a different story, but
yeah, fair enough. But I'm just saying, like, where I'm getting with that. It's just it almost invalidates what those schools have worked so hard to do, and then you immediately change the algorithm after, said season or whatnot, and then it's just like, what the hell? So, it almost makes it not so as authentic, I guess is the word I'm looking for. I don't know. It's just make a change. Let's stick with it. Let's see what happens. But NCAA trying to regulate NIL, I knew in the moment when NIL started that there's no way. What is this going to lead to, Michael? I mean, is this going to be the universities start paying these kids directly and they just set up like I don't know if you call it a W-10 work. I don't know, like how the taxes would work and whatnot. I'm not real sure. I would like to see them find a middle ground where the university is still not necessarily directly involved, but that the student can still make whatever they want based off endorsements. I think it's the best idea, but how do you regulate that? You can't. I mean, it just
the only way you're going to be able to regulate any of it is every single player is going to have to get paid something. And then, some of them would end up getting more as far as, some of their sponsorships, some of these collectives that they're doing. But I'm going to steal something here from Brian Rice. He's co-host with Eric Ainge on 99.1 The Sports Animal. He knows he's kind of like an inside guy for Tennessee because he knows a lot of stuff behind the scenes that he can't even tell. But he said that eventually what it's going to come down to is these players are going to become employees. Something kind of similar to employees anyway. Basically, every single player is going to get paid something. And, you'll have some that'll probably have more just based on sponsorships and stuff like that. But each player is going to get a minimum of something.
Well, and I'm glad you bring that up because there's a very common misconception out there. Not every player gets paid.
No.
Plays. There's a lot of players on the football team, alone that doesn't get paid anything because you're a smaller recruit that gets recruited in. You're not going to play the first 3 years. Nobody's going to necessarily see you as far as a national brand, right? Sure, everybody in Knoxville knows you, and that's great. But, off your name, image, and likeness, you've got to be a starter or a backup. You've got to be a difference maker, right? Because those things are going to help improve your stock, help improve your name, image, and likeness value so that other people are going to want to invest in you so that they can get their brand out. It's all a business. And that's what sucks about this, dude. I hate that it's all becoming business. Like I love the days when playing for a school is because you freaking love the school and you want to represent them. And it was enough back in the day that you got your school and your housing paid for because let's be honest, they didn't pay for housing. They didn't pay for dorms, right? And I get it. A kid can't work while they're playing sports. Absolutely. They need something. But I think blowing it up to what this is now, and this is why I said it, dude, I don't know if there's a win-win in this. Hey, I'm glad we won this lawsuit. I wasn't really scared about it. We said it 3 weeks ago, the worry level on this was a Zero. So, hey, it is what it is, but now the future of the NCAA and college football in itself, not necessarily in question. We're going to have a season next year. It's just where does it go from here?
Exactly. That's the big question. So let's move forward. We'll try to get you out of here. Sorry, let me take this graphic down. Two new assistant coaches have been hired for the volunteer football staff. Tennessee hired Cincinnati's Darrell Sims as their new running back coach. Sims has had a top 3 or top 25?
Top 25. It's not. I mean, it's all right for Cincinnati. That's pretty good, actually. I'm not gonna lie.
But I mean, everywhere that he's been, the rushing attack has gone up. I know when he was at Louisville, their running attack was very good as well. So I think this is a really good hire for the Vols.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really – you asked me, like, how worried are you, as far as hiring the next running backs head coach. And honestly, I wasn't worried. I think this was a first for Josh Heupel as far as hiring outside the box. But I think he nailed it. All right. And I think I don't think he could have really gone wrong no matter how he went. But I think he got a guy at a smaller school that has a lot of potential that can come into Tennessee and just kind of fill a spot and maximize potential. The running back room's healthy, so it's not like he's coming into a mass chaos type of scenario and he's got to clean it up. He's coming into a good situation, and hopefully we're going to derail some defenses this year.
Yep, I agree. So
sorry, I had to do it.
So second guy, I'll let you talk about him.
Yeah, so we hired the linebackers coach, William Inge, and what's funny about Inge, I-N-G-E, is Eric Ainge thought this was almost a perfect name for the guy. I mean, he was like, he's just missing one letter. But no, linebackers coach from Washington. This I actually want to talk about because this was a massive hire. This is a guy that had an offer to go to Alabama and join his former head coach at Washington to go join them. And instead, he actually chose Tennessee over Alabama. How's that?
Well, he was down there. He was down there at Alabama trying to sign a contract down there.
Look at the top comment right here. Why did he choose Tennessee over Bama? You want to know why? Because one's on the up and up, and the other one's kind of in a stagnant spot. I'm not hating on Kalen DeBoer, but he's got massive shoes to fill. Let's just be honest. And I think a guy like Inge doesn't necessarily want to feel the weight of those shoulders and not know what his future is going to hold at Alabama, whereas at Tennessee, he's probably knowing that he's got some good job security, knowing that there's not necessarily going to be this heavyweight expectations of championship or bust. Now, Tennessee's got high expectations. I don't think we have championship or bust expectations. I think we
not
have.
Yet.
I think we have. Let's make the playoff. I can't say win the East anymore, but let's make the playoff. You know,
I agree.
Let's beat the teams we need to beat. Let's make the playoff. If you miss out on the championship, that's okay. We're still in the up and up. At Alabama, dude, if they lose 2 games this year, I know Nick Saban's lost 2 games, but it was Nick Saban. He can get over that. If Kalen DeBoer loses 2 games and then maybe loses 3, I'm telling you that he could be gone in 3 seasons. I'm just saying it how it is. And I'm not going to blame Bama fans for that. I am going to blame Bama fans for that because that's literally what it'd be about. I mean, everybody should know that you can't just replace Nick Saban. Because if you could, that'd be a slap to Nick Saban's face, right? So I don't know. I don't know what I think. I think Tennessee's in a really good spot, and I think he weighed his options. He chose us over them.
I agree, and I don't know the full terms of his contract yet, but I do believe that it's not just going to be a linebackers coaching job.
I do believe partial working with Tim Banks, right?
I think he's going to be an assistant defensive coordinator or like co-defensive coordinator or something like that. So it's going to be more than just a linebackers coach title, and I think that's kind of what they were trying to work out at Alabama was getting him to be a co-defensive coordinator or something like that, and they couldn't come to terms on that. So I believe that's another reason why he chose Tennessee over Alabama is because they agreed to that, where he was that at Washington. He was the co-defensive coordinator, and if he didn't at least get a co-defensive coordinator job at wherever he went, it was going to be a demotion for him. Yeah. So I think that Tennessee offered it. Alabama couldn't come up with the negotiations for it. So I think that's why he chose Tennessee over Alabama.
Well, and it's all about look, this was a quote straight from, Coach Inge, and that's Tennessee has a championship pedigree. And let's be honest, Alabama has that too. But I think Alabama's had that, and I think he's wanting to be a part of the change of what gets Tennessee over that hump. He's extremely excited to be a part of the Volunteer family. And look forward to earning a championship. And that's something that Tennessee's there, man. I mean, they just got to get over the hump. Tennessee, of course, lost 4 games last year. And people are like, man, Tennessee fans are just crazy. Like, they took a step back. Yeah, we took a step back. We went 10-2 and, literally had the best year in 25 seasons, basically 20 years, that we've had. And it was delusional to think that we would capitalize on that. I was delusional. I'll say it. I mean, I straight up thought that maybe we could fight for a championship in the East. But you look at who we lost, who we had. I just believed in who we had a little bit too much probably. But now you look at who we have, and getting Brew back and getting 3 of the 5 starting offensive linemen back, and you got 2 people that pretty much were starters because they rotated in and out. You got a guy that transferred in on the O-line that's going to be a freaking monster. And then you look at our defensive line, and we basically kept everybody. And we're going to get to see them right there, April 13th. And unfortunately, there has been some construction going around at Neyland, which that's not unfortunate because it needs to happen. Neyland Stadium, If you've been there, you're pissing in a water trough if you're a male in halftime trying to use a quick bathroom break. And honestly, that's cool and all if you're a bro and you're having a beer, and that's fine. Just look up. But at some point, that's got to change, and I think that's what they're working on. It's probably not going to be done around the whole concourse this year, but I think around 2025, 2026, they should be done with all the bathroom renovations, and hopefully you'll have some blinders or something. That way you can have a little bit of privacy and not having to worry about looking down to button your button. But and that's just on the obviously. I don't know how the women's bathrooms are, but I can't imagine them being much better. So
yeah, but it is just going to be 10,000 people are going to be allowed in here, but the orange and white game will be on SEC Network Plus. I don't believe it'll be on the actual SEC
Network. It will re-air later in the week.
It will.
It'll re-air. But if you want to watch it live, SEC Network Plus, ESPN Plus is the app that you want to get. Guys, I'm telling you right now, with baseball season, softball season, obviously the spring game, Tennessee is going to have to play on SEC Network Plus or ESPN Plus once at least every football season. Highly recommended. I think it's only $55 to $60 a month for that subscription. Or I'm sorry, $60 a year.
I was going to say,
I think
it's a year.
It's $60 a year, guys. So, I mean, you watch as many baseball games as I do. I get my $60 worth probably in like 2 weeks between softball and baseball. I watch as much as I can. If I'm walking on the treadmill at the gym, I place it up there and I just watch the games. However you do it. Highly recommend it. Get it, whatever. But no, the spring game. 10,000 allotment. Last year, I think it was only like 40,000 because they had to cram us all into one half. But I'm gonna try to be there. Obviously, if it's something that makes sense, I live 30 minutes away. I'll try to be there, see what I can do, and see. I like being there. I like seeing the warm ups because I kind of see some guys that maybe you don't hear about all too often. Seeing if they're actually getting some reps involved. Like I was one of the first to know that D. Williams might get some offensive plays because you could see him in warm ups, and he was running with a wide receiver instead of defensive backs. And lo and behold, 2 weeks later, and he got some game action in offense. So, but we'll keep you in the loop. That's about all we got for today, is it not?
Yeah, but hey, Skylar, 10,000 fans is still more than Vanderbilt's going to have at their spring game. Might be more than they have in any game all year.
I mean, I love it. Little bro's little bro, but at some point, you just got to stop kicking a dead horse, bro.
Come on now.
It's almost rude. No,
they're used to it by now.
I mean, they are. But look, they got to stay in the SEC because they make us look smart.
Yeah,
they raise that GPA level.
Yeah. So you want to shout out the merch store real quick before
let's
get
do
out of here?
The merch store, and I'm sorry for forgetting it, but here it is. Let me pull it up. We got some merch right here. It's nothing too fancy, but it's something to get us started. Obviously, we're going to keep working on it. We had some issues with the round logo and the fact that it's in the wrong, I guess, file, JPEG or whatever. It's a digital file. We can't get it swapped over because we don't know what we're doing. We're new to this. But if you want to, help us out in any way, we get about $1 or $2 on profit on all this. I tried to knock down the profit as low as possible because I wanted you guys to just get our, help us get our brand out there. Whatever you do, the T-shirts, shout out to Ron and Kobe Smith. They bought some T-shirts. They bought the crop top and I think the men's T-shirts. They go out matching. They're not the nicest T-shirt in the world, but I mean, if you go to the gym or whatever, you just need an extra T-shirt to work out in. That's perfect, man. That's what all we do. And obviously, I'm wearing the hats. I'm wearing not that hat. I'm wearing that hat right there. Look, man, less than $20, you get a hat. And I enjoy my hat actually. So it's just something out there to get our brand out there, just something that we have, and I'm very proud of it because I think it's pretty cool to have a merch store. But if you guys want to check it out, we got the link in pretty much every single bio I think that we have. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, any bio that you have, the merch link store is in our bio. Just go to our page, look at the link section, and it should be there, take you straight to it.
Yep, and if you get a chance, follow us on all social media platforms, Facebook, The Vol Fanatics Show, Twitter, @VolFanatics1998, Instagram, @Vol Fanatics Show, YouTube, @Vol Fanatics Show, Spotify and Apple, both of them, Vol Fanatics Show. If you don't mind, wherever you are watching, go over to YouTube, give us a subscribe there, as YouTube helps us out the most with our algorithm. If you've seen some of ours in the past, we've got some big things in the works. There'll be another little teaser trailer that's coming out this week. So keep an eye on that. And we will, I promise, do a better job on the socials this week. As Skylar and I have been working really hard behind the scenes this week on different things, and some news coming up next week that has to do with the podcast as well. And it's huge news.
I hate to cut you off. Let's just be real, dude. Me and you, average Joes, it's not like we do this for our living. This is something that we kicked off to have some fun, talk some sports. It started off as a competition between me and you in football season to see who could have the best record in SEC play. And not to like toot the horn, but your boy,
there we go. There it is.
Your boy came out on top. I don't think he ever lost. He was never even. I don't think I ever lost at any point in the season. I was just like dominated, like your domination, like pure domination. But look, we've got our 9 to 5s, right? We work. I would say mine's 9 to 5. It's more like a whenever my phone rings. But so we're doing that. We're trying to have fun with this. And I appreciate everybody that's supporting us. All right. We got Chris Smith. I'm going to shoot him out one more time. Obviously, insurance agent. You need anything you need, you give him a call, because he is a guy. He's a best friend of mine, and he loves us, and he loves our vision and what we want to do with this show. And he just wants to help get his brand out there too. So he's an agent. If you guys need anything, if you don't know your agent, if you want to get to know somebody, get to like somebody, he's a big volunteer guy. He's a big Braves fan. He likes to shoot guns. So if you want to go to the range, you just call him up, man. His number is 865-272-3387. And like Michael has mentioned, we've got more businesses out there that believe in what we're doing. And I've been able to sit down with them, have some talks with them, and I think they're going to help us out. And that way we can continue talking ourselves and our wives into letting us come on here and speak for 2 hours, because now we're at least getting something out of it other than just having fun, because that's what we want to do. But, just to have fun, help these brands get their name out there as well as we grow. And hopefully they see a return on that. So, again, if you need an insurance agent, y'all give my guy Chris a call, and you won't be disappointed. I can promise you that.
Yep, absolutely. Chris Smith, we appreciate you. Skylar, I appreciate you. I know you got to get out of here.
I do.
So watch some Tennessee sports this week. Got a big week of basketball, baseball, softball coming up. And, guys, we will see you all next week at the same time.
Yes, sir. Go Big Orange.
I'm a ball for life, y'all. I bleed orange and white, y'all. I will till I die, y'all. I'm a ball for life, yeah. Raised up on John Ward, giving 6 in the checkerboard till I'm gone. Go